Hey, welcome. Thank you for coming to the annual meeting of members for the Native Plant Society of Texas. I hope we have some non-members in the audience, and we'll tell you what our mission is. We promote research, conservation, and utilization of native plants and plant habitats through education, outreach, and example. And we'll show you some ways that we're doing that today through our introduction of our committees. But for now, we want to make sure we're all in the right place. So we are at the 40th anniversary celebration, Native Plant Society of Texas State Meeting of Members. And we're going to play our society anthem. You can sing along if you want to.
The native plants of Texas are the only plants for me. They grow high up in the mountains, cross the plains down to the sea. From Red River to the Rio Grande, Big Bend to the Gulf of Mexico. The native plants of Texas are the best plants you will know. Blue bonnets on the roadsides, first in the blooms of blue and bold. Indian blankets, Mexican hats, turn that blue to red and gold. There's a rainbow of colors in biodiversity, and the native plants of Texas are the best for you and me.
Fantastic.
The native plants of Texas are the only plants for me. They grow high up in the mountains, cross the plains and down the sea. From Red River to the Rio Grande, Big Bend to the Gulf of Mexico. The native plants of Texas are the best plants you will know. The native plants of Texas are the only plants I'll grow.
Okay. What a great song. If you, or if any of those plants are yours and your photograph was not attributed to you, please let us know. So this is a meeting, and this is our brief agenda for our meeting. We'll review officer elections, meet our employees, meet the leaders and their committees, but not every committee will be on here. We'll have a brief in memoriam. This is our first year that I know of to do that, and I hope to make it a tradition, but with not very many participants. Sorry, that was kind of weird. And then we'll see all the contests. Okay. So Pam Leonhard, our VP of, sorry, had that wrong. Cecil Carter, the chair of the nominations committee, will now introduce our new officers and the results of the election. Cecil?
Okay, you can see left to right. Far left is Clarence Reed. He's in the Austin chapter. He was elected as Vice President of Advocacy and Affiliations. He's also the past president of the Kerrville chapter. In addition to his work in NIPSOT, he's quite an extensive traveler, and we'll have to get him to give us a little travelogue later, I guess. The second picture there in the middle, you probably remember Pam Lenhart. She joined the executive board back in April, but she's agreed to serve another 2-year term now. So she was reelected just this past year, and she's served as an officer in Kerrville, and she also joined NIPSOT in 2002. You probably all know Kimber because Kimber, and Kimber, you got to help me here how you say your last name. Kashink. Is that close?
I think Kaushik.
Kaushik? Okay. At any rate, she was first elected 2 years ago as Vice President of Education, has done a great job actually modernizing that I hate to say department, but it's what I'd call it, a department. Anyway, we're happy that she's agreed to serve another 2-year term. Kimber's done a lot of streamlining in the job, which it needed. And so join me in welcoming our fellow members to this officership.
Yay. Thank you all for stepping up and agreeing to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil. That was wonderful. So next on our agenda, we have Meet Our Employees, and Pam Leonhardt, our VP Administration, will be introducing them for us. Pam? Is Pam in the waiting room? Or is Pam unmuted?
No, I am. I'm unmuted now. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. Well, first is Craig Coulter, our membership coordinator. Want you to know that Craig has done wonderful things to help make joining and renewing memberships more efficient. If you've had any chance to work with him, you know that's true. I just want to read a little bit about Craig. Craig and his wife moved to the Texas Hill Country from Colorado in 2014. They discovered native plants right away and heard about NIPSOT in March of 2015. They joined immediately and are involved with the Fredericksburg chapter. Craig worked briefly on membership in the state office in the fall of 2018, and when the need arose in March of 2020, he took on the job again. He and Denise live on a few acres near Harper and are working on creating a native plant environment as they try to keep the deer and sheep from eating their plants. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck is right.
Next is Meg Inglis, who absolutely needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce her anyway. There's most likely no one in NIPSOT who has not worked with, been helped by, or learned from Meg in her role with the Native Landscaping Certification Program. But just in case you don't know about Meg, let me read her wonderful bio. Meg has been the Native Landscape Certification Program coordinator for 6.5 years. She loves every minute. She and her family built a house on 2 acres of land near Dripping Springs in 2000. Their sole source of water is a 20,000-gallon rainwater system. So they plant only natives and have been conducting a small-scale land restoration project for 20 years. Meg has been a member of the Austin NIPSOT for 14 years, was chapter president for 2, and on the chapter board for several more years. She loves grasses and has great fun identifying new native species of all sorts on her property every year. Standing cypress and gay feather are some of her favorite flowering plants, and she enjoys chewing on new growth tickle tongue leaves every spring. Okay, a true native plant lover. Okay. All right, and our newest employee is Sarah Torres, our accountant. Sarah joined us only in mid-October, is that correct? And has literally hit the ground running to get our financial records in order. Sarah developed her love of native plants in Austin, attending urban forestry steward and habitat steward training by Tree Folks and Wildlife Austin in 2016. When an opportunity to purchase some land in the hill country arose, she and her family moved and built a small cabin where they maintain a wildlife management plan and wildscape full of native plants. 2 of her favorites include Lindheimer's Senna. She's trying to trick me up here. She gave me the Latin name, Senna Lindheimer Rihanna. I should know how to say that. I'm from New Braunfels. And antelope horn milkweed, Asclepias asperula, both of which are growing wild on her property. Looking to meet new people with similar interests, Sarah began attending NIPSOT meetings in 2018, formally joining the Lindheimer chapter in February of 2019. In January 2020, she began serving as treasurer for the Lindheimer chapter. And as I said, she became our accountant just this month. We're so happy. So in addition to all these talents, all these people with all their talents, as you learn when you have an opportunity to deal with them, they are all really nice people. We're so lucky to have such skilled employees working hard behind the scenes to help us grow and get better. Thank you, all 3 of you and everyone else who's working. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Pam. That was wonderful. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk about briefly the structure of our organization. We have a governance model here. Our state board that meets 4 times a year is composed of the executive board and our chapter representatives. Those are the voting members in blue. The standing committees are some that we'll review today. We have ad hoc committees that come up as we need them. We have contractors and employees. So that's sort of our complete structure now. And I thought I would throw in a
And
couple of,
maybe you'd like to make me a little small glass of iced tea.
all right. Okay. You might want to mute yourself, Cecil. Okay, we're good now. Anyway, that's when we used to be able to meet together. So there we are in July 20th in League City. And then on last year, October 4th, a year ago, for our symposium that was in the fall at League City. And then this was us in January, our state board meeting. So we were at Fredericksburg at Paula Stone's home, and we had a wonderful meeting. And now here we are on Zoom. So our Zoom meetings are open to all our members, but only representatives and executive board members can vote. So if you are interested in coming to our next Zoom meeting, it will be on November 21st. So in about a month from now, and you're welcome to come. Suppose we can accommodate 100 people, that would be awesome. Our executive board, I'll just go from left to right. We have Michael Eason, who's our chapter liaison, myself, current president, then Linda Knowles, past president and future president, Bill Hopkins, our communication chair and past president. Then we have Mary Horn, who is the, now at the end of this meeting will be our immediate past affiliations and advocacy vice president. And then Clarence, of course, is taking over her position there. You were just introduced to Clarence. Then under Michael, left to right, is Pam Leonhardt, the VP Administration, Jen Hands, VP Finance, Kimber Koshik, you met her earlier, VP Education, and then of course Cecil. And we meet on Zoom, and we actually have been meeting on Zoom now for 3 years. So we're like Zoom pros, I think. And we'll just jump right into our audit committee. We don't, not all the committees are here, but we do have a fair representation of all the state level committees. The audit committee reviews our finances on a monthly and quarterly basis and makes sure that all the transactions are reasonable. We have 3 to 4 members, and it is customary for the last VP Finance to serve and become a member of the committee. We currently have Betsy Ferris as chairperson, Walt Henderson from the Georgetown chapter, and Martha Pete from the Trinity Forks chapter serving on the committee. Our Finance Oversight Committee is chaired by the Finance VP. And we have a new member, Mead LeBlanc, and I want to say she's just stellar. In our last endeavor, which was a recent project involving the hiring of the new accountant, Mead was very instrumental in helping the whole process be done professionally. She's had HR experience. She helped us with all that. It was a good experience all around, and I think she contributed greatly to it. We are currently also just always trying to improve, developing a list of our issues. And Jan is gathering quotes for accountants to help us with our 990, which is an important filing for 501c3 nonprofits, our tax filing. Our future project will be to develop a budget that's coming up almost immediately. Then we're going to develop onboarding systems for new chapter treasurers so that it's just a good practice for nonprofits. And research and make recommendations for investment accounts. So there's a lot on that. There's a lot more to that committee, and they're doing a very good job. And the next committee we have is Bring Back the Monarchs to Texas. This is chaired by Carol Clark. And I will, I just have to say the first picture there is from my yard. I had a roost this year. It was so exciting. And I'm going to give this over to Carol now, and she's going to talk about her committee.
Okay, you can advance to the next slide. This is my committee. Oh, not that one.
Oh,
Back
go
one.
back one.
Yeah, let's see the people. Okay, this is the committee I'll be working with in 2020 and 2021. Vicki Blackman, Kay Lowry, Linda Knowles, Cindy Watson, Bill Freiheit, and Randy Johnson. And each person contributes in slightly different ways. So not all of the contributions are in the same vein. I'd like to give a big shout out to Vicki Blackman and Kay Lowry for reading every single one of the grants and responding in detail to each one of those last year. So they really did a tremendous amount of work. Next slide. Kim, next slide.
I did it. Did it not go?
There we go. Thank you.
There's
Stop
a
there.
lag.
Stop there.
Okay.
Okay, so how did the Bring Back the Monarchs to Texas Committee come about? It came about when some people from the Native Plant Society and from Monarch Watch were having dinner and got to talking about how they could leverage their strengths to mutually benefit native plants and monarch butterflies, which are in trouble. And so they hatched this plan to create the Bring Back the Monarchs to Texas Committee. And the goals of this committee are twofold. They are to educate and they are to encourage people to use native plants in their landscapes in a way that's aesthetically pleasing, it's effective and appealing, and benefits monarch butterflies by creating new habitat. So part of that is the Bring Back the Monarchs to Texas Garden Grant Program. Next slide.
There is a little lag. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kim. Did you have a thing to add
I was
there?
saying there's a lag. Okay.
Okay, that's all right. And the Garden Grant Program is designed to take applications, evaluate those applications, and give small garden grants for the purpose of installing a native plant-based monarch garden. And so in 2020, we actually had 75 grant applications. We awarded 22 grants that totaled $8,650. And honestly, there were more grants that should have been funded, but we only had so much cash on hand. So that's why the strange number, 22, we were out of money at that point. Next slide. The garden grant parameters. These gardens must include Texas native milkweeds and Texas native nectar plants for monarchs. We do not fund non-native plants. Grants are currently limited to a maximum of $400 each year. You can apply again if you've already won a grant. No guarantees you'll win again, but you may. Money must be spent by October 31st, and updates reports are submitted by November 30th, just so that we can see those gardens actually went in and how the process went and learn for next time around. This year, we're being a little flexible with people because of COVID. We've had to have some groups that couldn't meet their original timetables. Next slide. Does it work? I think so. This is Armstrong Elementary. Caroline Trotman took this photo, and look at these kids. They use this tiny little strip of dirt between the sidewalk and the brick wall. It had just sort of been a barren patch. And they installed a linear monarch way station in that patch. And here are the kids out looking at the monarchs and the queens and just having a great time doing it. So they're learning. These are our future, these children. If they don't understand native plants and their benefits, I don't know what's going to happen to them in the future. Next slide. This is one this year that had some teething pains, but eventually went in. It's a very large installation in the shape of a butterfly in a park in Lampasas, Texas. Does have quite a palette of natives installed. And this is just the first season, brand new installation. So yes, there's mud around it, but I wanted you to see the kind of infrastructure that they put in there. We do not fund the cement and the benches or the dirt, only the plants. Next. One of my favorite success stories is Tennyson Pollinator Parkway in Dallas. Karen Albrecht and her crew have taken a professional landscaper's designs and extensive list of native plants and installed that in sections there. It's modular, so they keep adding to it as they get funds and time and ability to do that. Next. So why do I think that Tennyson Pollinator Parkway is sort of a model for a successful BBMT funded garden? They have a neighborhood newsletter that features native plant profiles. They do seed harvesting in their gardens and distribute those seeds to people in the neighborhood, among other things. They have programs running in the gardens that highlight the plants and the pollinators that live there. They have bluebird boxes in that garden that are functioning with bluebirds nesting. They recently put in some native bee nest sites. They have one-on-one education with park users who walk there, frequently talking to them about the plants as they come through. Some have stopped to say, hey, can we help too? Teach me how to weed this.
Wow.
They have newsletter articles on pesticides and pollinator issues that go out to the entire neighborhood. Money that they raise from seedlings that are left over in the gardens is used to buy supplies and some of the soil amendments to expand the plantings and make new sections. And this modular design allows for gradual expansion at a rate that everyone can stand. So I think this group is doing just about everything right. They're getting native plants out into the neighborhoods where people can really see them close up, appreciate them, and then get them for themselves. Next slide. So what makes this work? Well, some funding from Monarch Watch, some funding from the Native Plant Society, but your personal or chapter support for the BBMT makes it possible to introduce people to native plants right where they live in their own neighborhoods while doing great things to support monarchs and other pollinators. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Carol. That was wonderful. What a great program. Bill Hopkins is our VP Communications.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, the Communications Committee has quite a few responsibilities too, including the member magazine, responsibility for the content and design of the state website, the maintenance of the website the chapter website platform, which includes we provide any training and assistance that's necessary to chapter webmasters. We're responsible for social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And we also are responsible for various management applications that are in-house that I won't go into detail about. And we also sponsor 3 annual contests that we'll be talking about later. Our magazine, I'm sure everyone enjoys that. You can either get it, your choice. You can have it a hard copy delivered to your door by the mailman, or you can get a PDF version delivered to your email. We have our editor is Susan Austin, and assistants are Ricky Lennox, Jason Singhurst, and Michael Eason. These are the members of our committee in general, Cindy Kearney, Meg Inglis, and Mike McBride, in addition to myself. And at this point, I want to show you some of the enhancements to
Okay, so
our website.
have I stopped sharing, Bill? Okay.
Let's see. This is our website. Are we still recording?
Looks like it.
Yes, I think so. I don't know.
Okay.
says live on YouTube, Bill, but I don't.
Does it say recording on the left?
No, it just has a little green check.
Okay. Can we skip to the next one while I try to figure out what's going on? I'll come back to my report. I'll see if I can figure out what has happened to our Zoom recording.
Okay, so we want to move on to the next, let me share.
Oh, Kim, there was a question for Carol. If
Oh yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do a question for Carol. At this time.
Crystal asked if non-natives are already in the garden, must they be uprooted to apply for and be awarded a grant?
That is a wonderful question, and I'm so glad you're going to give me the opportunity to answer that, because I was beginning to type on this awful little keyboard that responds. So the answer is that depends. The committee will evaluate each grant application on a case-by-case basis. And what we want to see is a garden that really features native plants. If you are tucking a few native plants into what is essentially maybe a rose demonstration garden, that's probably not going to work for us. We want to see native plants featured in this landscape in a way that makes them appealing and inviting and makes people want to go out and get those plants and plant them at their place. So if you have a tree that's non-native, we're not going to ask you to take out that tree. But we do want the focus to be on the native plants. And so the answer is no, but kind of. A rose garden with a few native plants is not quite what we're looking for.
And then you just got a bunch of accolades saying fantastic work and thank you so much. And it's a worthwhile investment.
Well,
Bill,
thank you. I get a lot of help. I couldn't do it by myself, so I really appreciate all my helpers among the staff and my committee.
Okay, Bill, I think we're recording if you're ready to continue.
I am.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to show you some enhancements that we've made to our website lately. The first one has to do with our chapter page. If you'll remember, we used to just have a list here of the various websites, and now we've added some additional buttons here and a table so that you can find Facebook or other Instagram, Twitter, YouTube accounts of the various chapters. So this link here is to the website. I think that this will give you all a better chance to find out what chapters are doing and how they're doing it, because there are so many ways that we can communicate with chapters now. And as long as we're on this page, I want to show you that we have, at the state level, we have our little social media buttons down here that I hope you know about. We can go directly to our Facebook here, our Twitter. This is Instagram. We have our YouTube channel that you can go direct to from this button. And then this is called SmugMug. This is a photo album that we have with pictures from lots of different things from back in the past. If you are interested in historical photos, and it also has photos from all of our photo contests of the past as well.
Call me whenever you get over there. Oh.
And the next thing I want to show you is over here under resources. We've added this virtual event calendar here. Usually we have more events, but this shows all of our upcoming virtual events that you can go to. They're all free. They're all things that are sponsored by either the state or the chapter level of the Native Plant Society. And they're all things that you can register for and attend virtually. And while I'm there, if you don't want to go to this every week or whatever, you can sign up here for our virtual event newsletter and get every Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, really at 7 o'clock, you'll receive an email that has all of the upcoming virtual events that you can go to. So we're getting a lot of attendance at those.
And you have a button for recorded events and webinars, Bill.
Yes, there's the past ones are there for recorded events as well. Yeah. Also under resources, this is really great, I think. we have plant lists by region. These are plant lists that are developed by our NLCP committee and are used in our various NLCP classes. You can find them here. There's the list of the various areas. We even have a map here, so you can locate exactly which area you are and then download a plant list for that area. And one more thing here I want to tell you about that has just been added in the last couple of weeks. We now have a coloring book. We have a 17-page coloring book that was created by Mary Horn from the Clear Lake chapter. You can download that. It's a PDF. You can print it out and enjoy coloring if you enjoy coloring, or if you have a child, grandchild, or neighbor child, whatever, that likes to color, then that's a great thing for them to learn about native plants as well. So, okay, and I think that later on we'll be showing you our contest entrance, but for now I'm gonna stop sharing and turn it back over to Kim.
All right, thanks, Bill. Y'all have been very busy this year. Okay. And let's go big. And the next committee up is the NLCP committee, and Meg Ingalls will be telling us about that.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, the Native Landscape Certification Program. I'm the coordinator of the program, and this was a program that was developed by the Native Plant Society of Texas, and they implement it. They're in charge of the whole program. We teach the value of including and preserving native plants in the landscape, and our target audience is the general public and landscape professionals. We'd really like to get the landscape professionals in our presentation so that we can impact more landscapes. But we have a lot of just general public wanting to do their own landscapes for their own yards. The NLCP steering committee is made up of a bunch of dedicated people that have been around, a lot of them since before I came on board, and they provide guidance and support for the program. And I just want to express my thank you to every single member. Bill Hopkins, you just heard from him, he's the chairperson, and Carol Feldman was chairperson for at least 4 years, probably longer than that. Next slide, please.
Uh-oh. I don't know what happened there. Am I still on Zoom?
You clicked on Lauren Simpson's B and went to workplace.
Okay, let's go back. That's not what we want. Where's my keynote?
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to tell Lauren, she just ruined it for us.
Just ruined it. What? All right, let's move forward. Maybe here we go.
As you can see, I have a couple of steering committee members that don't want to show their faces. Who knows why? The NLCP is a statewide program. It's taught by NIPSOT chapters, and they focus on the local plants and characteristics of that particular region in which the class is taught. And I think this is one of the things that makes NLCP special, because if you go to a class, you're going to learn about plants that are in your area where you're designing your landscape. Next slide, please. The NLCP is made up of 4 levels of certification classes. Introduction to Native Landscapes teaches you about the benefits of native plants to the landscapes. And then landscape design with native plants, you'll have a chance to design do your own very own design. And then of course, once you've designed a landscape, you're going to want to learn how to install and maintain it, because it's really very different than trying to do conventional landscapes. So that's level 3, is installation and maintenance. And then finally, we're working on the stewardship of native plant communities. That's level 4, and that's going to be implemented in the fall of 2021. And it's a much broader perspective, looking at larger landscapes in more of a restoration, from more of a restoration perspective. And then we also developed recently a companion class called Native Landscapes for Birds. It's been very popular, I think. Next slide, please. 2020 classes for the Native Landscape Certification Program were hugely impacted by coronavirus. In the spring, we set up 16 classes, in-person classes, and then of course they all had to be canceled. Luckily, the NLCP is a very robust program, and it didn't really impact us that much to have those classes canceled. But then we had to think about it, turn around, decide what we were going to do for the fall. And we had 8 brave chapters that volunteered to do online classes. And we were able to offer 12 online classes this fall. And it was a huge learning curve for me and for everyone else. But I think actually that we're going to benefit from it in the long term. Even when we go back to in-person classes, we'll probably end up taking some lessons that we learned from this along with this. Next slide, please. Of course, the program just simply wouldn't exist without the volunteers, the NPSOT chapter volunteers. And just looking at this collage of photographs will make you understand the amount of energy and commitment that goes into this program. It's got in-class presentations and plant walks outside to look at the plants, and we have plant samples. And the people that put these programs on, honestly, I've never seen a more dedicated bunch of volunteers. They're wonderful. So thank you to all the host chapters and the volunteers. And then these are the chapters that actually have participated in the NLCP since the beginning. So I want to give a shout out to all the chapters and say thanks. Thanks, Kim. That's it.
Thank you very much, Meg. That was a great overview. Okay, the I-35 way stations. Now, do we have Suzanne or anyone here that wants to talk about it? I did make up some slides.
Suzanne is here, but I don't know if
oh, you know what? She may not be able to talk. That's all right. I can go through this. You know, it started in 2015. I believe it was a brainchild of Kay Jenkins. And the safety rest areas on Interstate 35 on Bell County and Hill County that's 4 gardens, have been transformed into Monarch way stations in part. And the committee secured an $18,000 U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service grant, of which we used all of that. And they planted native milkweeds and native nectar plants in the landscaping beds, and they are functioning now as Monarch way stations. Mm-hmm. So if you've never been down 35, I would be surprised, most of us have, but they're basically located between Hillsboro and Temple, with Waco, the heart of Texas, right in the middle. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 north of Waco and 2 south of Waco, northbound, southbound, and they're just absolutely wonderful. Here is just a fraction of the committee. I mean, here's Kay with her dog and Suzanne Tuttle. And unfortunately, I don't have a picture of Ilsa. Ilsa maintains the Bell County stations with a small group of people. And then I think Suzanne and Kay are our main maintainers. We're going to need some more help in the future with that. And we'll be talking about that at our next state board meeting. So be sure that you come to that meeting and weigh in. As you can see, monarchs arrive. We have native milkweed. We have people talking about it. They're absolutely stunning. Every time I've ever been there, there have been butterflies in the gardens, and they're gorgeous. All right, I can't, there's always a lag in between my slides, so I'm not sure which slide you're on. I hope you're on this one now, that showing the queen butterfly there. I'm sorry, it's the queen. And with the host plant, passion flower, and then there's the caterpillar for the adult that's there. So absolutely gorgeous. They're worthy of support and worthy of your stopping in to see them as you go up and down 35. And next we have the 40th Anniversary Celebration Planning Committee. this draws us to the end of our review of some of the committees, not all of them on a state level. And Pat and Dawn, I'll give it over to you now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for pulling up that slide, Kim. As you can see, this was pretty much an on-the-fly committee commitment that was pulled together very quickly because of the impact of COVID-19. So this group, we have representatives from several chapters, the North Central chapter, Cross Timbers chapter, the Dallas chapter, Houston chapter, and the Trinity Forks chapter. And the committee members, you see them pictured here. We also have some that are not pictured that came in periodically to help us out with various items and challenges and their creative thoughts. Because this week is not quite over, what we did put together are some special notes regarding the celebration. What started off as really a decision to not have our annual symposium resulted in brainstorming of what else could we do in its place. The idea started as a very small one. We would just have a few speakers and we would just say it's a birthday celebration and go from there. But it did evolve, as you see. We had 15 sessions over 7 days. They are wide and very topical areas. The session schedule and recordings offered flexibility to the participants. We had statewide chapter and community involvement. There were new collaborative opportunities, unrestricted by time and space. We had opportunity for broad community outreach and member recruitment. Electronic mediums allowed for no-cost publicity and event promotion. And I think best of all, the sessions were free and open to everyone. So we had some attendance from areas that we normally don't see. And that was very rewarding, I think, for all of us. The next part of the slideshow, it's 2 slides, but basically it shows the attendance that we had on our virtual sessions. All the data here is through last night. So you'll see on Sunday, we had the 2 sessions and we were just under 100 for each session. And in our informal talks, we did say that for the first day, we thought that was a very good response. People have a lot of other family activities going on Sunday, so we were really pleased with that. And then it starts to build, as you can see. Monday, we had, for the morning session, we had 122. In the evening, we had 161. Tuesday afternoon, we had 177. And then in the evening, we had 140. Those numbers represent people that were watching YouTube live stream and were in the Zoom sessions. And the same here on Wednesday, we take, let's see, the 9 a.m. session had 91 participants. The evening had 97. And then Thursday afternoon, we had 90. Thursday evening, we had 190. And Friday morning, we had 159. And then we wrapped up Friday night with 108. So those numbers continue to be counted for today. And when we reach the end of today, we will be sending a final report with numbers of participants, the views after the sessions that were on YouTube, and we're trying to show the registration numbers too. We think as a committee that if you look at all of those numbers, you can kind of predict what your anticipated return rate is going to be, people registering versus actual attendance. It's not going to be exact, but I do think for planning purposes, that will be helpful. In conclusion, we want to thank not just the committee members, but everyone. Everyone has pitched in. Many people did things they had never done before and just were willing to step out and say, let's give it a try. And we have survived some very interesting technical challenges this week, but I think we will continue to do that as long as we use these online mediums. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Pat and Dawn. Y'all were great leaders for this endeavor. It was a challenge. And I think that it'll be something that we'll continue to do perhaps after we come out of COVID. Hybrid events seem very attractive to me now. And we'll see how that goes. I think it's been a great week and y'all have done a super job. Our next section is new for our annual meeting. I'll just be going through, okay. I'll just be going through the slides. It's an in memoriam section, not, well, we'll just move forward. Okay, Bill.
Yes, as promised, I'm back here. We'll tell you about our contest that we have going. First of all, we have a chapter newsletter contest, and then we have a photography contest and a video contest. And all of these are various forms of communication there, and so naturally they are sponsored by the communication committee. For the newsletter contest, we have Highland Lakes. We had 5 entries total for that, and they were submitted by either the president or the editor. Highland Lakes, Clear Lake, Cross Timbers, Collin County, and the Trinity Forks. Those were the only 5 entries. I want to encourage chapters in the future to enter this contest. Whatever chapter wins is not eligible to win again for 3 years. So that makes it more democratic, I think, and more likely that you can win. So to find out who wins, you need to come back to our meeting at 7 when we'll announce the winner of this contest. And now we're going to go through the photos. We had over 90 entries in the photo contest this year, and they are arranged by ecoregion. There's a winner for each ecoregion, unless there are less than 3 entries in the ecoregion. So Kim's going to tell us about this.
Okay, so this is the ecoregion map from our website, and we color coordinated the information box and banner with the color of the ecoregion on the map. So every region will have this. We'll spend a little bit of time here so you can just read it for yourself and then look at the map. So maybe 5 or 6 seconds here. Hopefully you've read this. You can see this is the littlest, tiniest ecoregion there out in West Texas. And here are the entries for the Arizona, New Mexico mountains. So every region will show a collage of all the entries, and then we'll go through each entry just a couple seconds. But we thought it was important for all the entries to be seen. They're all beautiful, and for everyone who entered to have their photo shown. So we'll just go through and let you read them. Central Great Plains is our next region. The sad part about this region now is that it's mainly cropland. Okay.
While we're doing this, I thought I'd tell you who our judges are. All these contests are judged by a committee of judges, and the judges for the photo contest are Cindy Kearney, Wallace Ward, Mary Horn, and Michael Eason. And I should have mentioned the judges of the chapter newsletter contest, which are Heidi Gigler, let me look that up.
Okay, while you're looking at that up, we'll look at the Chihuahuan Desert here. A lot of these ecoregions extend beyond our borders. And this is, of course, a region that has Big Bend, one of our favorite places to go. And if you went to Michael's talk, you saw some of Big Bend there. Okay, we had a lot of entries. We had 9 entries in this category. They're all just beautiful. I'm glad I wasn't a judge.
Yes, I was right. The newsletter contest, the judges are Heidi Gigler, who is our former editor of the Nipsot News, Ricky Lennox, and Lonnie Childs. And the editor of our video contest, I mean the judges of our video contest, which will be coming up a little later, are Kay Jenkins, Martha Pete, and Robert Camper. So I want to thank all of those judges for doing a lot of work, for going through all these entries. All the contests, there is a worksheet that they go through, and they judge them with numerical ratings on various features, and then come up with an overall score for each entry.
Cross timbers, extending up into Oklahoma. "16 entries from this ecoregion, all really beautiful. I don't know how y'all judge them. And now the Central Texas Plains, also called our Post Oak Savanna, which if you look over here, of course, these are all done, rainfall, soil types, these things influence what create our ecoregions. We had 4 entries in this category. The Edwards Plateau is completely contained within our state. With 18 entries. I think this was our largest entry per region. And now we're on the Gulf Coast, the Prairies and Marshes. With 9 entries.
And I want to mention here that I showed you the button for the Smug Mug photo gallery that we have when we were looking at the website. If you go there, there is a gallery that has all of the photos there that you can go through and look at and take your time looking at them in case you want to take a longer look. Or you can do a slideshow that's a timed slideshow just like this as well. And in addition, you can look at galleries of the previous year's contests as well.
Bill, we have a question on the photo submissions. Does the ban on submitting photos that have been previously posted on social media extend to iNaturalist observations?
No, I don't think so. I think that if you have submitted them for an iNaturalist observation, that doesn't really count. I expect that we would be hard pressed probably to research that anyway. So yes, go ahead and submit them. We do ask, however, that the photos that are entered in the contest be taken within the previous year.
And within Texas, the borders of Texas.
And yes, and within Texas, and in fact, within the ecoregion that you submitted in.
Which I understand around Austin can be a little bit tricky to know where you're at. The High Plains extends out into New Mexico and further north. And we have 3 entries. Carol, was it you that said this could have been our state flower or was considered perhaps for our state flower because it's in almost every ecoregion?
That was Kathy Powers.
Oh, was it Kathy Powers? I heard that this week. That was fascinating.
It was a story that she and I both have heard from Rosa Finsley.
Ah, very nice. And I think this might be our last ecoregion. Caprock Canyon area where so much fun to camp there. Oh no, there's one more region. There was only 1 entry for this region. So if you want to win, go to that region. Although it would be hard to compete with this gorgeous photo from Tom. Oh, right, Blackland Prairie. We didn't do that. So many entries here. 12 entries.
We really had a lot of great entries. Like I said, we had over 90 entries, and so many of them are really fabulous. Must have been really hard to judge.
I can't imagine. That just takes my breath away. And that's it.
And here are our video contest entries. We're going to play a playlist here. The playlist is on our YouTube channel. You can just click that playlist and watch all of these in succession. We had a desert garden tour by Martin Havron.
Oh, shall I go back? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have these memorized.
Okay.
Butterfly and Hummingbird Garden at E.O. Martin Park in Brady by Sheila Van Zandt. Feast of the Bumblebees by Carol Flournoy. A Moment at NBC by Rachel Sawinski. Iconic Meadow by Don Young. And a segment from a Warren Ferris documentation by Julie Feynman, who did that for the Friends of the Warren Ferris Cemetery. So
these are all less than 5 minutes. And so we thought we'd play them, and we will then be finishing our meeting after that.
Welcome to my desert garden. My name is Marty Havron. This garden is roughly circular in shape. It's about 40 feet in diameter. You can see that this ornamental pampas grass is the centerpiece of the garden. So we can walk around back to the entrance gate and take a closer look at some of the plants. As you can see, I have these goat panels around the perimeter to keep out some unwarranted foraging critters. This garden is located in the Davis Mountains, a little over 1 mile high in West Texas. And the soil here is very rocky, very granular, which provides good drainage for the desert plants. So if we go inside, we can see that I have Mexican feathergrass planted in the background. When you look at the garden from the front, this is ocotillo. Ocotillo is very important for the hummingbird migration. Here's another ornamental grass. I have several plantings of the Sapuntia microdaces, one of my favorite cacti, which I propagate by cuttings and by seed. Some nice red yucca. They look beautiful when they bloom. I have several varieties of Echinocerius, such as the spiny hedgehog. And these look really beautiful when they bloom in the spring. Some of the plants you'll notice I keep in pots. And the reason for that is so that I can move them into my greenhouse during the winter. Winter's going to get pretty cold here, pretty hard on some desert plants. Last winter we got down to 13 degrees. If I turn around, I go up the path, we can see there's a nice Yucca filamentosa here. And as we go back towards the front again, we'll see some other plants. This is not a desert plant at all. This is Sempervivum. I just wanted to see how well it would do in a desert. And it seems to be surviving okay. This is the second year for it. This is a really interesting plant here. This is Agave lechugia. And the only place on earth where this plant grows naturally is the Chihuahua Desert. And the native people use it for a variety of purposes. They could make needle and thread out of it. They use part of it for food. We go around to the back, we have more yucca and more agave. This little plant here is a candle cholla. I start these from seed. And I have this one planted in an artificial tanaja. Tanaja is a natural depression in the rock. Look it to be about 4 feet in height. And as we continue around to the back, we have some purple prickly pear. I found a branch of this blowing across the road and been uprooted. I tried to plant it. It's doing really well. We have a cow tongue cactus, which grows really fast here. I have to keep pruning it. And our final plant, as we get back towards the gate, is this yellow bird of paradise, which is pretty much finished blooming for now. I started this with seeds that I brought with me from Yuma, Arizona when I lived there. And over in the Sonoran Desert, the afternoon sun gets so hot that these seed pods literally explode, and you can watch the seeds fly all over the place. So that concludes my garden tour. Thank you for visiting.
Has it really been 25 years since I received that call from some other members of the Sierra Club and the master naturalist asking me to come help with the plant rescue because Northwest Vista College was breaking ground for its very first building? Well, things have sure changed a lot as this campus has developed. The Alamo Community College District really did its best when it took that concern over native plants, and instead of eradicating them, it went on to build the rest of this campus, actually naming the trails, the parking lots, the buildings, everything on this campus for different native plants. So that today, as you go through the campus, as you walk between the parking lots and the buildings, you walk from the student center to the library, you have to walk quite a distance, to be honest, a lot more than at the other Alamo College District campuses. But the amazing thing to me as a community member is that the students say they don't mind. It's just that wonderful to them to have the native plants here. They appreciate it. Now, some of what they did, obviously, made some changes. You can see in the distance here, a water feature. And I like that they have added all these interesting things like this labyrinth here. And they've modeled low impact development. And when I look at this, and I think back to that time when we were out here rescuing plants, thinking that the whole place was going to be bulldozed. 25 years later, to go to the grocery store and ask one of the employees there if he could help me get an item off the shelf, and to have him tell me that he has gone to this campus, Northwest Vista College, for several years and always had a good experience. And he's able to take classes online now during the pandemic, but that the reason he misses coming to campus is because he misses the plants. That's the difference native plants make. That's what we lose when we get rid of them. It brings us so much value that we don't even count, but people recognize it. It's what makes people go where they go. It's what makes them be where they want to be. It gives us back ourselves. It connects us with the rest of nature, which we are part of. It brings value to our lives, and it reminds us why we are here to begin with.
Maybe folks have shown.
Should we not study the great volume of nature? Should we not draw wisdom from the past to guide us to the future? Should we not carefully read and correctly interpret these lessons written by the supreme architect of the universe? Hi, I'm Megan Peoples, a horticulturist and president of a local chapter of the Native Plant Society of Texas. I've been a partner in restoring the Warren Ferris Cemetery back to its original state since the beginning of this exciting project. Imagine Warren Ferris, one of the first settlers to roam these lands. Warren Ferris Cemetery, a 501c3 nonprofit, celebrates pioneer Dallas surveyor Warren Angus Ferris and his deep love of nature, especially the Blackland Prairie, the prairie which so influenced the development of the city of Dallas. Traveling west from Nacogdoches on a survey and expedition, Warren Ferris emerged from the East Texas piney woods and came out onto the Blackland Prairie, experiencing its stunning impact. Sun-kissed expanse of wide open prairie met the sky. This was Ferris's description of the Dallas area in the late summer and early fall of 1840. I saw in the picturesque regions there much of the wild, soul-stirring scenes with which I've been so familiar in the mountains. Thousands of buffalo and wild horses were everywhere to be met with. Deer and turkey always in view, and an occasional bear would sometimes cross our path. Wolves and buzzards became our familiar acquaintances, and in the river we found abundances of fish, from minnows to 8-footers. The prairies are boundless and present a most beautiful appearance, being extremely fertile and crowned with flowers of every hue. Ferris came to the Dallas area in 1839 when it was known as the Three Forks of the Trinity, surveying along White Rock Creek. In 1850, Ferris was chosen to survey the boundaries of Dallas County, and his surveys established the basics of later Dallas roads and streets. He might well be considered the founder of Dallas County. He would recognize the beauty in the area and chose his own homestead, what is now known as the neighborhood of Forest Hills. This historic cemetery is the final resting place of prominent early settlers from several significant families. Yet no tombstones remain due to vandalism over the past 150 years. To honor those buried here, the plan is to research the souls buried here, execute a landscape restoration plan, maintain and beautify the landscape as a remnant Blackland Prairie, a certified backyard habitat, and a monarch butterfly way station, and then also to promote and encourage the existing native plant community while adding plants typical of this habitat not already existing on the site. Walking the cemetery at the beginning of the restoration project, we discovered many valuable native species suppressed by invasive plants. One of the persisting prairie species is no other than Engelmannii paristenia, or Engelmann's daisy. This fantastic member of the sunflower family is well known for its long-lasting blooms, providing sunny color in the landscape throughout the warm season. Named after George Engelmann, one of the first botanists to scientifically identify, name, and describe countless Texas plant species. I like to believe that flowers like the Engelmann's daisy that the plant explorers proudly attached their name to were ones they had particular fondness for. This plant is also a valuable nectar source for countless beneficial insects and continues on to provide seed for birds long after its showy blooms have faded. Chinkapin oak with its soaring canopy grows to heights of 40 to 50 feet tall. It is a native tree that had no trouble persisting on this historic site. Chinkapin oak, along with bur oak, were the two dominant oak species in this area. They thrived in areas along waterways and in valleys, where the prairie faded into a wooded riparian zone. This is one of our native tree species that doesn't get nearly enough attention in our landscape, and therefore has suffered severely in the industrialization of our city, making it increasingly rare and hard to find in our native landscapes. If you have a Chinkapin oak, treasure it. If you don't, plant one. There are over 14,000 fallen cemeteries in Texas alone. Friends of the Warren Ferris Cemetery has created a blueprint to inspire others to restore neglected cemeteries in their own neighborhood, developing them into monarch butterfly way stations and conducting genealogical research to recover the identities of those buried there. Get involved. Consider volunteering your time or donating to our cause. To learn more about our programs, go to the Friends of the Warren Ferris Cemetery website.
Wow.
So there are some great ones there. And unfortunately, when we showed the YouTube videos through Zoom, they sometimes they're not, the quality is not as great as if you were watching them directly on YouTube. So please go and watch them in their better quality format.
They looked great on my screen, Bill. I guess there was a little bit of issues with others. Anyway, come tonight to our contest and awards presentation at 7 o'clock, and where we'll honor our awardees, and we will see who won the contest. Thank you for attending today. And if we have questions, are there questions in the chat? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for coming. I hope you come tonight. It'll be a wonderful evening. Our awardees will be telling us about their project, so it's something different. We haven't done that before. And we'll see.